Welcome to this week's episode of the Success Realtor Podcast by yours truly, Colleen Wood. Here is where we celebrate success in real estate and share the wisdom and struggles so that others can be successful too. If you're a new listener, I'm the producing branch manager of the Wood team at Hometown Lenders, and I'm known for helping realtors earn a lot more money in commissions without selling their soul to the industry and while maintaining balance with what's most important in life. You guys, we're in for a really incredible treat today. We are taking this podcast to the next level. Today, I am honored to be talking with Schenck, business coach, trainer, and founder of Arete Life. Since 2011, he has hosted over 28,000 one-on-one real estate coaching sessions. He is the real deal, and I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Colleen. It's just an absolute honor to be on this podcast. Thank you so much.
Oh, this is going to be awesome, you guys. Listen in, take notes. This is a big deal. He charges money for this, and he's here to offer us guidance and direction in this kind of difficult market, a little bit different. So definitely listen in. So Derek, take us back to the beginning of your real estate journey. How did you get into the business and what drew you into real estate?
All right. So I got licensed back in 2005. So I've been in real estate for, over 18 years now, either as an agent, a managing broker, or a designated broker. Why did I get into it? It was in 2005 and, in 05 and 6 and 7, things were kind of easy, kind of like they were a couple of years ago. And why did I get into it? I was in the printing industry at that time, and I got into real estate because it looked easy. It looked easy. It's like, oh my God, they stick a sign in the yard, they make these big checks and play golf all day. I want some of that. So I know it sounds cool. Oh, I want to help people with, getting their dream. No, I did. It had nothing to do with people's dream home. It was about, I thought it looked easy and you can make a lot of money. In 05 and 6 and 7, it was a little easy. And then 08 happened, right? 08 happened, and 9 and 10, and was able to survive and struggle and fail and, learn from that. So, and that's not the sexiest story, but that's why I got into it. And then, I joined a real estate brokerage, a different real estate brokerage in 2011. I was hired to be their productivity coach and their backup broker. So I was a productivity coach. And then I became a John Maxwell speaker trainer coach. I was teaching some of his stuff throughout the Northwest. Then I became a team leader of a 200-person brokerage outside of Seattle. I got certified as an NLP practitioner. I became, a national coach for that program. I became a bold coach, traveling, teaching that live all over the country in Canada, and then COVID happened. So all the live stuff kind of stopped, and then, I've been Zoom coaching people of all different brands and brokerages, all over the country of different production levels and different market sizes since then. So, why do I bring all that up? It's because, the benefit you get as a paid professional coach is you get to see behind the curtain of what's really going on. It's not just the highlight reel and the awards and the Facebook posts and everything else. It's what's really going on, right here, right in your heart and your head and everything else going behind the curtain. So, I have gained so much more collectively from all of them than they've ever gotten from me. But that's allowed me to, just learn more and gain more to be able to help, everybody else at a higher level.
That's so cool. So, you could have stayed a realtor. You could have stayed a realtor. You could have stayed a managing broker. What really drew you to want to be a coach? And how did you know that was the right direction for you? What do you get out of it?
Great question. So I started coaching in, 2011, and I got a lot of training on coaching and everything else. And I thought I was a coach at the previous brokers, but the truth is I was a trainer. A trainer is downloading information, or a mentor, as in this is what worked for me, this is what works for you. And coaching is just a whole nother level. So I started coaching and everything else. And then in 2012, I ran a marathon. It was my first full marathon that I ran. And I did a speech at a team meeting at the brokerage in front of about 90 agents. And I did the speech on the trials and tribulations of running versus the trials and tribulations of real estate. So it was running versus real estate. And, so I gave a speech to a bunch of people. I was about a year and a half into coaching, and the speech went really well, and people applauded, and that, stroked my ego, and that felt good and everything. But, it was just short-lived. Oh, that was cool. That was awesome. But then a day later, I got to get back to work.
Right.
And so it was a couple of weeks later, another team meeting. And I sat in the back of the room next to a gal, and I didn't know who she was because this was about a 400 or 500 person brokerage. I sat down to her, and she said, before the team meeting started, she said, hey, I want to let you know that I really appreciated your speech a couple of weeks ago. It really touched me. I said, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And she said, we just got back, we drove 8 hours to Portland, another 8 hours back to watch our daughter run her first marathon. I said, that's so cool. And she goes, yeah. She goes, the reason why that's so cool is because we haven't talked to our daughter in 7 years.
Oh.
And she said, we drove all the way to go watch our daughter. We haven't seen her and talked to her in 7 years. And she goes, we probably still wouldn't if it wasn't for what you said.
Wow.
So for me, that was my defining moment. I could tell you what room and what chair, what spot in the back of the room where it happened. I mean, it was all I could do not to just bawl during a team meeting. I don't even know what they said. I was just thinking about, oh my God. Mm-hmm. And so what shifted for me is knowing that I can impact someone having a coaching session or impact them in a room. That's cool. But at that moment, it's like, I can impact people outside this room. I can impact people outside of real estate that affects their family or their generational wealth. It has a bigger impact than just homes. And it can go outside this room. That was the moment. That was a defining moment for me. It's like, this is what I was built for. I was built to coach. I was built to speak, to have an impact, whatever that impact may look like. And that's when I doubled down. That first year and a half, I think I was okay. No, I should probably apologize to the people in that first year. I probably wasn't that good. But when that happened, I just doubled down. That's when I started going to more coaching seminars, coaching camps, started going to retreats and conferences and reading a couple books every single month on coaching and finding mentors. And once that happened, I doubled down and I started to grow and have a bigger passion and actually started becoming even a better coach. So it was that one moment that made the difference for me.
That's amazing. That's amazing, amazing, amazing. So, Derek, what is your favorite part of your career now? What do you love doing the most now that you're established and have this great coaching business?
I love to hear myself talk. That's why I jokingly say whenever so I just love to hear myself talk. And so, I love the speaking gigs and stuff. And I get to do those for all different brokerages and brands and online or live and everything else. It's really cool. But my favorite part is when I get to see it just clicks. When you're working with someone, sometimes at the beginning there's a little bit of apprehension. They're a little nervous. They don't know what to expect. They're still a little, closed-minded or, not being vulnerable. And they're holding off a little bit. But then when they do start to open up and they still become a little more open-minded, willing to try something, be open to vulnerability and being open and honest, you can kind of feel this little resistance and they're struggling and everything else. And all of a sudden, it may be a few weeks in or a few months in, then all of a sudden it just clicks. They come in and they get it, right? They get it. Maybe they had a defining moment. Maybe I was part of that. Maybe it was on their own. It came from somewhere else. And then they jump in. They resist lead generation. They go, you know what? Lead generation, it's not about forcing people to do stuff. It's helping them to achieve what they want. You help enough people get what they want. It'll help you get what you want. And the perspective changes, the resistance changes when they get it as a salesperson, as a leader. Whatever it looks like, just there's always a moment I can see it in their head. The smoke quits coming out of the ears and it like, bing, it just happens. When you see it and you sense it, it's like, boom, it happened. So the key is, some people say, I change people's lives. I don't change people's lives. My goal is to educate and motivate and to create an environment for them to take the action steps so they can change their own lives. So I do my part, but they got to put in the action steps. But when you see it happen, then you made that difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How could that not be your favorite part? I love that you are saying that, it's not just my job. I don't just change people's lives. I mean, I think one of the biggest things that people are lacking is the motivation, and we're always looking for the motivation. And sometimes you just need to have a conversation with someone like yourself to just be like, this is what this could look like, and this is possible. But you definitely need to have, when we talk about all the time, how important having a coach in business, no matter what kind of business it is, how important and life-changing that can be to be connected with somebody like yourself. So that's incredible. Absolutely amazing. So tell me, what does business look like now? You founded Arete Life. Tell us about Arete Life. What does that business look like? What is it? How is that structured? And what do you offer?
Yeah, so thank you. So Arete Life is just kind of my new, it's not new, the passion I've had. So the word arete is an ancient Greek word that means excellence in all things. So not just in one area of your life, it's in all the different areas of your life. So, when I do business coaching, it's probably 80% the business coaching, the facts, the figures, the numbers, the lead gen, the appointments, the systems, the models, the agent attraction, the leadership, and 20% personal. Because if things are struggling at home, they affect work. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
And if work is struggling, it affects home. So, when I do the business stuff, it's probably 80% business, 20% personal development. Arete Life is probably 80% whole life personal development. We still talk business. But what I found is, like business planning clinics, right? So the fourth quarter is coming up. Everybody's going to have their business planning clinics. And I've taught them for a decade. But what I found is you teach a business planning clinic and they have a workbook full of stuff. They go, this is awesome. And they applaud and you go, oh, I did pretty good. But then you go to coach them a month later. It's like, how are you doing your business plan? I don't know. Where's it at? I don't know. It's in a drawer on a shelf somewhere. So why do people create a great business plan and never do anything about it? Because they have no passion behind what those numbers mean. People say, I'm going to do a business plan and make it $100,000. Why? I don't know. It's a nice even number. Well, I'm going to make it on $1 million. Well, why? Because the instructor said cross it out and 10x it. Right? Mm-hmm. But they have no passion or belief in the number. So if you say, okay, this means that you need to do so much in volume, so much in units, so much in appointments, and so much in closings, you have no passion because you weren't passionate about what those numbers meant. Mm-hmm. So I think it takes three things. Number one, it's, people call it time management. There's time management, then your business plan, and then your life plan. Well, number one, there's no such thing as time management. You can't manage time. You can't, speed it up, slow it down. You can't buy more of it. Right. So you're setting yourself up. It's not time management. It is, and encourage you guys to write this down, unless you're driving. If you're driving, don't write this down. But it's priority management.
Yes.
It's brain management. It is emotion management. It is life management. Because if you don't manage your life, everybody else will. Your customers, your clients, employers, employees, everybody else will. Your kids, if you don't. So number one, it's life management. Okay, Derek, what does my schedule look like? I don't know. Let's look at your business plan. I don't have a business plan. Okay, let's start doing a business plan. But we can't do a business plan until you have a life plan. I don't have a life plan. Great. Then you're not ready to do a business plan.
Sure.
Quit doing business plans until you do a life plan first. Because once you do that life plan, and you determine, some people call it your big why, I call it your central purpose. But, what is your purpose? What are your core values? What are your priorities? What do you want your health to look like? Your faith, your fitness, your finances. And if you figure out that life plan first, and for you to maintain that life plan means you need to make $400,016.14. Then now you build a business plan of $416,014 because now you're creating a business plan to fund that perfect life plan, that perfect Arete Life plan. So I create Arete Life because people are blindly creating these business plans. This goes for real estate agents. This goes for lenders. This goes for the dentists, the entrepreneurs, the MLMs. It doesn't matter. If you're an entrepreneur or a salesperson, before you do the business plan, you got to create that life plan first. So that's what, Arete Life is all about. So, Aristotle learned from Plato. Plato learned from Socrates. And Socrates said the word excellence means achieving the good life and doing small things. Wow. So if Arete Life Arete means excellence in all things, what it means is doing the small things daily to achieve the good life. So that's what Arete is. What small things are you doing on a consistent basis for your health, physical health, your mental health, your social health, for your family, friends, faith? What are those little things that you're doing that is leading to excellence? Now it's about progress, not perfection, right? So I just believe in all those little things because I could go on forever. Sorry. That's why I'm passionate about this is
I love it.
All those things affect everything else, right? Yeah. We can't just pound you on business because if, okay, you're hitting all your financial goals and you're massively overweight and you can't go hiking with your kids, right? Or a lot of my big clients, they're crushing it. That's the easy part. But they say, Derek, I'm on the verge of a heart attack or divorce.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Terrible.
All right, okay, you can make the money. You're a rock star. But we want to make sure, you're here to stick around with it. We want to make sure that you're not starting over again. And that may be where they're at. So Arete Life is more whole coaching about doing that life plan first. So when we do this business plan, it has some meaning behind it. So The Arete Life, I teach live classes. They're all day live classes, like from 9 to 4 live. This is what you get for like all day long, right? So you get this all day long. You'll be exhausted at the end of the day. I have a workbook, everything else. I have an on-demand course. It's like, I can't take you live. If you want to do it online and maybe pace yourself or binge watch it, you can do it online as well. And then, I do one-on-one coaching. If you want to go more business, we'll go more business. You want to go more life, we can do more life. And with, I don't just claim to know how to do all these things. I have all these certifications and like over 28,000 sessions. You get to learn different people's styles and behaviors and types and how you can help, and be honest in areas that you can't help. So that's the thing about, Arete Life. I think it's something that we really, really need right now. I think we've always, especially in the last 3 years, people are struggling. People are struggling. People are still going through COVID hangovers in our industry, real estate. Even lenders, sometimes even the lenders are hurting more than the real estate agents right now. And they need to go through it. Yes. Yes. And you got to refigure out what that passion is.
Yeah.
Right. You got to figure that out and refuel it. Cause for me, I was doing good, but not great until I found it, till I found that passion again. Then I doubled down. Then I made a difference for myself and others. I think some people need to find that again. Some people are tired and some people are a little lost, and I think this is more important than ever. That's why I'm so passionate about it. I appreciate you allowing me to, talk outside of real estate today.
No, I love that. And I'm interested, just purely blindly, I'm interested to hear, what is your guidance for realtors with your Arete Life, or other folks that are through your Arete Life? What is your guidance on alcohol?
All right. Okay. Interesting. So I'm a coach, not a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm a coach, not a counselor. So there's areas that I don't touch. But what I would say is, I can honestly say that I've gotten 6 people to enter into AA during my coaching.
Mm-hmm.
During coaching, we call there's smoke and there's fire, right? There's smoke. Oh, my real estate's not working really well. I just don't have the passion. My energy's down. Okay, that's the smoke. What coaching is you got to get through the smoke to find out what the real fire is. And sometimes the real fire, there's something else going on. Right? It may be some sort of an addiction, or whatever that addiction may look like. It may be a mental condition or illness or something else like that. What we do is we go and we find it. So for me, I can find those things, and people feel safe and comfortable with me to find those things. Now, I don't claim to be able to solve those things, but what I do is, okay, it's like, what is coaching? Where are you at? Where do you want to be? And how can you get there? So it's like, where are you at? I'm in this place. And a lot of people have fallen into this place in the last couple of years. Where do you want to be? I can do better. I'm not fulfilling my purpose. I'm not stepping into my greatness. Okay, great. What are the options here? And they say, I don't know. And then as a coach, you say, well, if you did know, what would you be? That sounds funny, but every time you ask that, they come up with the answer. It works with kids too. I don't know. Well, if you did know, what would it be? Well, I guess I could do this and that. So they say, well, I guess I could do this. Okay, great. Awesome. Anything else? Awesome. So which one will you commit to this week? You have them come up with the options. What will you commit to? Okay. How could things be different if this was not an issue? And once again, people think it's pain versus pleasure. It's not pain versus pleasure. It's pain versus pain.
Yes.
There's a pain of, I really like this thing. And there's a pain of breaking that habit or that routine. Well, there's also a pain of, how's it affecting your short-term health, your long-term health, your kids, your spouse, your partner, your business partners, etc. And if you say, my kids are number one, my health is number one, my business partners are number one, but you keep doing this, then your actions are speaking louder than words.
Well, what I've learned recently,
the greatest pain always wins.
Sure. What I've learned recently, and I think is just lines up with what you're saying, is like one of the biggest challenges that business people in general, when it talks about, we want to be better, but we're not like motivated, and people are looking for that motivation. What I've learned recently, I've just been kind of really diving into alcohol and how it affects, and because alcohol is so prevalent in our industry. A lot of coping is happening through alcohol. It's in all the social events that we do, like everything is so much of it around it. But, we have a level of dopamine in our system, in our brains. That's our happy level that we're used to as kids. Like when I do this thing that I love, I get that dopamine hit and it makes me feel happy. Well, alcohol, it spikes your dopamine. It feels really good immediately. And when you do that repeatedly, your brain learns that it doesn't need as much dopamine. It doesn't need to make as much dopamine because you're getting that hit. But when you go and do the things that you love, like we think about, business and how we're inspired and how that felt good to do that thing or have that success. If we drown it with alcohol, we can't get to that dopamine level of happiness to feel happy. So we don't get that good feeling of motivation of being like, I want more of this. This makes me happy. And so that's just something that has been really on the forefront to me. And I just see a lot of people on all sides of our industry. This market is challenging and different than what we've seen. I see a lot of coping happening. So just kind of something, just a little fuel for thought there.
Yeah. And, once again, I always like to protect myself. I'm a coach, not a counselor. And yet, we see that for a lot of people in our industry, it's, caffeine all day and alcohol at night.
Yep.
Right. Which leads to massive dehydration, which affects, other health issues, which affects sleep. There's so many factors of sleep. It's not just getting a good night's sleep, all the other things that it affects and cognitive thinking and everything else. And so what I would say is to that is, okay, I got to do everything in stories and metaphors. All right. So I got to break it up. We're getting, so what it is imagine there's this big boulder. There's a big boulder and there's a little kid. He's trying to move this big boulder and he's pushing and pushing and pushing. And he goes, Dad, I can't move this big boulder. And he goes, have you done everything you can? And he goes, well, let me grab this stick. So he gets this big stick and he puts a stick there to try and wedge the boulder. And he's pushing and trying to wedge the boulder. The boulder's not budging. And he goes, Dad, I can't move this big boulder. And the dad says, have you done everything you can? And he goes, well, so then he goes and gets a little rock. He puts it by the big rock so he can get a little more leverage. And so he's trying to pull and push and the big boulder's not moving at all. And he said, Dad, I can't move this boulder. And Dad says, have you done everything you can? The kid says, I've done everything. Have you done everything you can? Everything that's around here, I've done everything I can. And he said, no, you haven't. You haven't asked me for help.
Oh, I love that.
So what I would say is, when you think you've done everything you can, right? There's great books out there. There's a great podcast there. It's surrounding yourself with good friends. There's certain activities that you can do to try and, fix certain situations, whatever that situation may be for you. And you do everything you can. And I believe in personal development. And I believe personal development can help make big changes. And yet, if you've done everything you can, it's okay to ask for help.
Yep.
And sometimes, I don't know, maybe we grow up as in it's not manly to ask for help, or it's weak to ask for help, or you might get judged if you ask for help. Do everything you can. And if you've done everything you can, I would tell everybody, it's okay to ask for help. It's guilt-free. It's okay to ask for help. And if you need help, it's okay.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. And you touched on sleep too. That's an amazing part of Arete Life for sure. Quality sleep for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you coach a ton on mindset and skill set. What is the most impactful advice that you could give a realtor right now in this different environment that we're seeing in real estate right now?
I would say everybody can write this down. It's control the controllables.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to say this probably 14 times. Control the controllables. We focus on all these things that we can't control. You can't control interest rates. Right. Which, as of this recording, we just hit a 21-year high today.
Yep.
Right. So we can't control interest rates. We can't control inventory. We can't control what's going on overseas. We can't control what our competitors are doing. Mm-hmm. But it's energy management, right? So we're given all this bandwidth, all this energy, feeding the fuel to the things that we can't control. Now, I know it's easier said than done. I get sucked in and I get knocked down sometimes too.
Yeah.
But we got to focus on the things we can control. So interest rates can't control, inventory. What can you control? Now, if you have a bad day, you have a bad moment, it happens. If the bad moment turns into a bad day, I get it. Mm-hmm. But we got to make sure that bad day doesn't become a bad week. The week becomes a bad month. That bad month becomes a year.
Right.
So, if you have a bad day, try to learn from it. If you can't, and you're in a pity party, great. Have a pity party for a day. But 24 hours later, it's time to get back to work.
Right.
You just had a big closing. You just got an award. Great. Go have, prime rib and lobster. Brag about it on social media. Awesome.
Yeah.
24 hours later, it's time to get back to work.
Back to work. Yeah.
So control the controllables. And, I believe you said, hey, what do we do during this environment, right? This challenging environment. What I would challenge is for us to reframe what environment means. So people say there's a good market, there's a bad market. it's not a good or bad. It's our current real estate market.
Right.
And what we got to do is we got to quit waiting for it to change.
Mm-hmm.
You can't wait for it to change. You can't wait for someone to come save you. You got to make the change. Now,
Right.
when we say control the controllables and control our environment, people think the environment is just the trees or the building around us or whatever else. Our environment is all the modalities around us. The modalities are basically your senses.
Mm-hmm.
So think about all the things that you see every day. Everything you see is planting a seed. And every time you see it again, it's watering, fertilizing that thought. That thought becomes a belief. You water it more, it grows deeper roots, becomes a deeply rooted belief. The belief starts affecting your behaviors. If behaviors affect your habits determine your future. So what are you seeing every day? What are you seeing on your phone? What are you seeing on your laptop? What are you seeing happen at work? What do you see when you're reading? Audio. What podcasts are you listening to? Are you listening to the right ones like this one? What are you hearing on your phone? What are you hearing at work? What do you hear you saying to yourself?
Yeah.
What are you feeling and sensing and experiencing every day? That's your environment. So what I would say is control the controllables. You can control what you're seeing every day. You can control, for the most part, what you're hearing every day. What am I experiencing every day? You can't control what the buyer thinks, what the buyer says, or what that buyer does. You can control how you think, what you do, and what you say. So control the controllables.
Wow. 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 That's amazing. That's amazing. So what do you think are the biggest hangups that you're seeing realtors struggling with right now? I mean, you mentioned, focusing on things that they can't control. I mean, that's absolutely one of them, but what should they stop doing right away?
And stop focusing on the things you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
Stop waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I get it. Maybe last year when things like around last May, things started getting a little weird. And it's like, I'm going to wait and see what happens. We got to stop waiting. We got to stop waiting for interest rates or the government or housing, or we got to stop waiting. So number one, stop waiting for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, start taking the action. You have great podcasts like this one. You've had the good books. You have a coach. You have this. It's taking action. You can have a great plan. And here's the goals. There's a big cavern and the bridge that goes across is taking action.
Yeah.
And I would say right now, you got to double down.
Yeah.
If you say, I'm making my 10 calls a day and I'm just, interest rates are high and I'm just not getting results. Okay. If 2 years ago, you're getting a closing for every 42 contacts, well, guess what? It might take 60. It might take 80 contacts right now.
Yep.
In coaching, we track your numbers. Mm-hmm. How many contacts to appointments set? How many set to gone on? How many gone on to signing? How many signing to goes under contract? How many close? What was the commission? What was your percentage? Those are all conversion ratios.
Right.
The conversions are symptoms of your business. If someone comes in and say, I'll tell you how to double your business, and they don't know your numbers, that's malpractice.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, stop treating it like a hobby. You got to start tracking your numbers because that's what business owners do. Business owners track their numbers.
Yep.
Stop not tracking your expenses. 80, 90% of, lenders and realtors, they'll track the money coming in, but they don't do a monthly profit and loss.
Right.
When I coach with people, I coach with them every week because I want that consistency. That first week of the month, they're reporting all their KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators, right? As in units and volume and everything else. On the third week, they share their profit and loss. Now, I'm not an accountant, but I've seen probably close to 1,000 of these, and I'm looking for blind spots.
Yeah.
What are the blind spots in there? Because there's a saying, the most expensive thing on your profit and loss is ego.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not attached to your numbers.
Yeah.
Right. So we got to stop not tracking the numbers. Yeah, you can make $500,000, but if you spend $480,000 doing it, so what?
Yep. Volume is vanity. Your bips for us, we get paid in bips. So your bips are your sanity, or your commission is your sanity, but cash is king. Like if you're spending more money than you're making, you're not actually running a viable business. And there's so much of that happening right now. It's insane.
Yeah. In fact, I believe in the power of words, and I'm going to contest the whole industry right now. So we talk about, the GCI, right? For real estate agents, they made so much, say $300,000 GCI. GCI is gross commission income.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to contest that.
Mm-hmm.
It is not income.
Right.
If I have a hardware store and I sell widgets, and I sell $10,000 worth of widgets that day, it is the revenue I generated that day.
Yep.
Then we take out expenses. The bottom line is income.
Yep.
So it's not gross commission income, it's gross commission revenue.
Yeah.
You're saying, I made this an income. You didn't make it an income yet.
No.
Take all the splits, take all the expenses out.
Yeah.
That's your net. Oh, and then there's taxes too.
Yeah.
There's your net. And that'd be the other thing. Stop not paying, quarterly taxes. You say you don't pay taxes. You get like a $40,000 tax bill. You spend all summer paying off last year's taxes, which means you're not saving for this year's taxes, and you rinse and repeat.
Yep.
I get it. I did that too in the beginning, right? You say, oh God, look, the savings is up to 40,000. I'm going to go on a little trip. I'll make it up later. And then you never make it up later.
Mm-hmm.
So stop not paying your taxes, start paying, quarterly taxes, go get an advisor to help you with that. Especially if you have a shifting income, make sure you get some advice on that. Stop treating it like a hobby. Because you know who doesn't make it in real estate? Real estate agents. Real estate agents do not make it in real estate. It's business owners. Yes, you're in sales. Yes, you're in real estate. It's business owners who don't make it. So stop being a hobby. Stop waiting for someone else. And you got to double down. You got to double down your actions. You go, I've always done 10, then do 20. I've always done 20, then do 40. And if you're a leader, you got to double down too.
Oh, absolutely.
If someone said they're going to come in and work their tail off to help you grow your business, you said you're going to provide all this value to help them grow. So leaders, we got to double down too. We need to support them more. We need to coach them more. We need to give them a little more training. We need to give them a little more support and motivation. Leaders, you're not pushing them. You are the leader. So all the agents and lenders and title and everybody else out there, you got to double down. Just get real, get right. You got to start doubling down. And the leaders, I'm going to challenge the leaders. The leaders got to double down too.
Mm-hmm. Show them how to do really good business by leading them. Show them how it's done. Don't just tell them, show them. Absolutely. So do you think that there's a pattern or a formula to becoming a successful realtor? You mentioned some metrics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So once again, we'll go into what they call lead and lag measures. So there's lead and lag measures. So for an example, the lag measure, let's say I want to lose 20 pounds in the next 6 months. The lag measure is what the scale says. The lead measure is what you're doing to affect that number. So the lead is, okay, I'm going to have less than 2,000 calories a day. And then I'm going to do, 45 minutes of cardio every day and 3 days of strength training or whatever that is. So those are the lead measures and the lag measure. Now, I might do all the lead measures. I'm eating right and exercising right. I do it all week long. I get on the scale and the scale didn't change. And that's when people quit working. Like you go to the gym, it gets a little sore, a little awkward, hot and sweaty, and then you don't see a change and you quit doing it.
Yeah.
So for real estate agents, your KPIs, key performance indicators, your lag measures would be like your closings. So buyer and seller units, your buyer and seller volume, and your closings and GCI. That's the lag. The lead measure is how many connections are you making? How many appointments are you having? Mm-hmm. How many, of those appointments do you convert to a signed listing or a buyer's rep? Mm-hmm. So if your lag measures are off, then we go look at your lead. Mm-hmm. And, if you're hitting your lead measures and they're not producing to the right lag measures, then we got to do more of the lead measures or we got to do something differently. Mm-hmm. But it's what I call the difference between what you feel and what is real. I feel this is working. I feel I'm doing pretty good versus what is real.
Right.
So number one, you got to track those numbers. And if you don't know I don't know what to track. I don't know how to start a P&L. I don't know, they don't have the experience yet. Then once again, I'd say ask for help. Yeah. Get a coach like myself and just get help. But then, it's tracking those numbers and you got to track it going in and out. Now, do I believe there's, patterns? Yes. But I would also say there's patterns and they're different for everybody. So everybody has different background, different skill levels, different runway of finances, different family support, everything else. So sometimes someone will stand up at the team meeting and say, hey, I'm pretty good. I do these 5 things and you do these 5 things. You'll be successful too. Well, maybe I would tell everybody to be open-minded enough to consider all the things you're hearing and seeing. But I'd also consider you to be confident enough to know what works for you. Mm-hmm. Right? If we're talking about all these lead gen, and I'm sorry, it's lead gen. You can't be waiting for the phone all the time. If you're saying, hey, here's a thing to stop doing as well. Stop doing 20 different things. Well, if you're doing 20 different things, you're probably not doing them very efficiently. Find those 2 or 3 that you're really good at
Yeah.
And then get twice as good, put more time and effort in those 2 or 3 things. And then the others you can leverage. You got to be smart enough to know what your strengths are and smart enough to know what you're not good at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So when it comes to patterns and routines, I believe in routines. Routines are when you have to think about it and you got to fight yourself through it. It's what we call people, they mix the word routines and habit. Oh, I'm going to start tracking my habit tomorrow. No, you're not. It's not a habit tomorrow. I'm sorry, I'm going to challenge all the words out there. It's not a habit tomorrow. If you got to get up and you got to force yourself to the treadmill in the garage and you got to force yourself to a podcast and you got to force yourself, it's not a habit yet. It's shades of consciousness. If I got to think about it and force my way through it, it's a routine. Once I start doing it without thinking about it, it's a different level of consciousness. Now it's a habit.
Right.
So you got to figure out your own pattern, your own formula, but you got to track, review, and improve. Write that down. Track, review, and improve. Track the numbers, review what they're telling you. Then how do I improve them? And so then you're going to learn what works for you, best. And then, when you decide I got to do this, I got to do more lead generation. Great. You got to put it in your calendar. You know what? I can't remember last time we had a date night. Great. You got to put it in the calendar. Right. You know what? I want to be a better mom, dad, spouse, partner. I keep missing the kids' piano recitals. Guess what? Put them in the calendar.
Yep.
And what are your priorities? What are your non-negotiables? Like, for an example, my daughter, she's a theater kid, right? She's a theater kid and she's been doing it for a long time. She just got a theater arts degree in college and stuff. So, growing up, like whenever they do a play at school and she had all these leading roles and everything, they do a play like 8 times. They had an opening night, closing night, and they'd have all these over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, when I'm active in real estate, it's like, hey, I'm the breadwinner. I got to get this done. And I remember one time someone said, hey, I'm thinking about, selling my house. I was wondering if you'd come over and let me know. And at the time it was like an $800,000 house. And the average home at that time was $200,000. It's like, hell yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
And my daughter had a play that night. And I'm at the kitchen table. And within 5 minutes, I knew this guy was just kicking tires.
Oh, shoot.
He was just curious. And I'm sitting there thinking, my daughter's up on stage.
Yes.
Leading role at a play. Now I'm at this guy just kicking tires. Right. So I could tell you all the plays I went to, and she could probably tell you all the ones I missed.
Oh.
And so, driving home, I was yelling at the steering wheel. I was yelling at the steering wheel about what he did to me.
Yeah.
It wasn't him.
Two of that. Yeah.
It wasn't him. It was me.
Right.
I did not ask the prequel. I did. Number one, if there was a play, I said, you know what? I'm not available at this time. Would, tomorrow at 8 or 9 be better? I give them an option. I give them an assumptive close and go with an option. I should have made it different. And I should ask pre-qualifying questions. I think another 5 minutes on the phone could save you 5 hours out in the field.
Yes.
So number one, what are your non-negotiables? Don't move them. You won't get them back. I don't even remember who that person's name is, but I know my daughter's name. Yeah. So just know what your non-negotiables are and stick to it. If you break, you say, oh, someone called me at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Who does that? If you didn't set the expectations, that's your fault.
Yeah.
So what are your non-negotiables? Communicate the non-negotiables out there and making sure you're working with the right people. And, I know it's so cliche, but you don't get that time back.
No.
You don't get the time back. I'll share with you really quick. I'm sorry. It's always stories for me. Really quick. There was an agent I was working with. And last month she told me, that she would come in, she'd come into the driveway. She's in the car on her wireless headset and she'd come into the garage. She has 2 little girls and they come up to, they open up the door and they're jumping up and down, mommy, mommy, mommy. And she's like,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so the next day she comes in, mommy, mommy, mommy. They come up to the door right at the window. Right. And she said she will never forget the day when she pulled in the garage and they quit coming out.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
It's real stuff.
It is. I know exactly.
That's real stuff. And every one of us have probably gone through something like that. We're entrepreneurs. Work is our life. Our life is our work. But we got to know the boundaries and we got to set up the boundaries with our customers, clients, and with our spouses and partners, and sometimes with our kids. But that stuff's real. We've all gone through something like that. But are we learning from it? And are we doing something about it? We don't get that time back.
Right. Right. And this is real estate or a career or whatever it is you're doing for your job. That's not your reason for living. It's a mode of transportation to support the lifestyle that you actually want. That's not the only, and I think we get so lost in it being our identity. And there's, like my son right now, I've said it 100 times on this podcast, he's going to be 15 in a month and he's going into high school. And I'm trying, like I'm laying in the street to say, slow down, slow down, slow down, because I spent so much on my career the first 14 years of his life that I feel like I missed it. So, we don't get this time back, and then your kids leave and they go and start their own families, and then they're going to prioritize their own families, of course. And we're going to miss it. We're going to miss all sorts of things if we don't prioritize what matters.
Yeah. And that's what you got to ask. I mean, not to get too deep, but that's what I do. I'm going to poke you with a stick. I mean, I'm getting real and getting right today because I refuse to hug any of you out of the business. And you got to think about, what do you want your epitaph to say? What do you want your tombstone to say? She consistently closed 200 homes a year.
Yep.
What, and yeah, if that's what you want, no judgment. But what do you want it? And what are you doing to make that difference?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think there are a lot of realtors, lenders, business folks out there that need you in their world. How can they get in touch with you? How could they be a part of your program? How do they reach out?
I appreciate the opportunity. So you can go to livingthearetelife.com. So Arete is spelled Arete. So livingthearetelife.com. When you go there, you can check out, I got free videos, free downloads. There's my online course you can go to. There's the live courses. I got a live one in Boise coming, and we have other locations coming soon. And then there's one that says connect with us, and it goes to my calendar. It goes to my calendar, and I have all these open slots. And if they're like 30-minute slots. If you want to ask me more questions about what you heard on today's podcast, go reach out. You want to say, I don't know how to start. How do I get a P&L going? Or if you want to find out more about, what does high-level coaching look like for an individual, a team, or for a brokerage, you can go there. If you just want to go, my social media links are on there. If you just want to hear, I usually do a video almost every day or every other day. So if you want to just go, hey, get the free stuff and just stay in contact, it's all there.
That sounds wonderful. You guys, I really encourage you to go check out his website. Coaching is one of the most resonating trends on all of our successful realtors on the Success Realtor podcast. A ton of them have said, get coaching, get coaching, get coaching. Coaching changed my life, changed my career. I'm a humongous believer in it. So go check Derek out. And thank you so much, Derek, for joining us on the podcast. This has been an absolutely amazing episode.
Thank you. I'm blessed to be on this with you, and I appreciate you and the opportunity to be with all your fans.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode of the Success Realtor Podcast. Just as a reminder, I'm the producing branch manager of the Wood team at Hometown Lenders. What we are known for are three things. Number one, we close on time. Number two, we keep our realtors in the sales seat at all times by keeping them updated on their current transactions so that they can go out and get the next one. Number three, when you entrust us with a lead, we follow up on that lead until they buy, fly, or die. Leads are never lost to our lack of follow-up. Our number one priority is for you to earn more money in commissions so that you can improve the lives of your family, community, and in turn, our country. So can I count on you for that next buyer lead? I would love to work with you too. Also, if you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please just reach out to my office. All right, we'll talk to you when you call in, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Success Realtor Podcast. Bye-bye.